Hey everybody, it's Greg and it's another edition of Unbreakable podcast. It is Saturday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you and also with you. It's Star Wars Day. And yeah, I was never a big Star Wars guy. I mean, I saw the movies. No, not one of these big things. Knowing the character and knowing the whole history of it. And it's set box and everything. Yeah, yeah. But I like songs. I like Mark Hamill, and it's good. They afford me. So it's a jam-packed show too. Jam-packed, including our classic TV episode too, which I'm looking forward to. So, but before we do that, the Kentucky Derby is today. Today, the conditions I think are supposed to be sloppy down in Kentucky. That's the way for interesting is. It was 20 years ago to the death. And Smarty Jones, our own Smarty Jones at Pennsylvania Hills, Langley, Kentucky. And Smarty Jones was going on to beat those things and came within a half of a night of winning the triple. Lost at the Belmont, but he goes Smarty Jones. And you know when he was there? Smarty Jones is still living. And I never met him, but I can tell him he's still, like I said, know the story. By the way, I'm quite glad for the helped me this year. My patron saint of the live podcast that I tried, he picture out of Tugger. It was Tugger himself. He's a joke. You know, I didn't even say he wasn't, even though thought that was odd. He's a joke. To me, quite still. But spirit will live forever. But forget that's the guy, not everybody, every sidekick. He did everything. He produced the show, he wrote it, he directed it, he did my hair. He did no, but the stuff. Anyway, Smarty Jones is a stud right now, and that's all he does. He lays around all day making kids, making followers. I just thought of something. What if Smarty Jones had a kid on April Fool's Day? Would be April Fool's Day? Whatever. Anyway, what a job, huh? What a life. What a life. You know, when I retired, it wasn't that way that I could just retire from being a social worker and just sit around making kids. I mean, that's all he does, Smarty Jones. He eats, he sleeps, he poops, uses that, yeah. And he makes kids. What a life, huh? Smarty Jones lives. All right. I gotta put my glasses on for this because I check my mail yesterday, my comments, and I don't do this on purpose. The hell with these glasses. I don't do this on purpose. But I forget to check it sometimes. So I'm overdue. I have some comments that maybe are a week old, a couple that are like a month old, and I don't do it. It's just the fact that I'm 118 years old. I forget. You'll be 118 someday too. Hey. All right. Here's some comments that I've got over the recent times. Okay. This is from Drip, DRIP, Drip TG, Drip TIJI, Drip TIJI. He says, nice video, bro. Thank you. I forget which one he was commenting about. I think it was maybe the last one I did. Maybe Tuesday or so. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you very much. Yeah, Drip. And this is from Cookie Ponder 6293. Cookie Ponder. Your voice is very soothing. Keep going. Mm. You know, it sounds like it's sort of a foreplay kind of thing, you know? Your voice is very soothing. Keep going. Going. Well, thank you, Cokie. You know, I've also been told I have very soft lips. All right, so that I lost it for a minute. I just went into the zoned out. All right, who else do we have here? Savage Cat GT. Hey, Fred, I love you. Well, I love you too, Savage Cat, whoever you are. I hope you're a female. I don't know. I don't know for sure. Savage Cat, huh? Oh, that sounds kind of wild, doesn't it? Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I love you too. Keep watching. And then finally, we have from Levi 7621. I really enjoyed the show today. It's the one we did on Batman. Remember that a couple weeks ago? We did two, we split it in two, and we did two parts on Batman. That was a lot of fun. More classic TV shows. You got it. You got it, Levi. I like doing the classic TV shows. You know, it brings back a lot of memories for me. And I know it brings back a lot of memories for people out there who either watched them back in the day with me or watching them now, right? You can catch a lot of these shows on TV Land and Hulu and all that stuff, right? All right, so here's our classic TV show of the week. I'm gonna do the song. You know, I didn't think this song had lyrics. Actually, it does have lyrics. I was surprised to find this out, but the lyrics were never used on the show. Surprisingly enough. But here's the tune. You ready? All right. Da 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 da. Da 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 Yes, it's the Munsters. We're doing the Munsters today. The Munsters. Yay. All right, well, you know what the Munsters are, all right? It was sort of they did the research. You know, back in the day, in the mid-60s, you were either a Munsters guy or you were an Addams Family guy. There was really no in between, one or the other. And from what I found out, I admit I was more of an Addams Family guy. I got hooked with, you know, Lurch and Fig, and Cousin It, and Uncle Fester, and all those people. I loved the Addams Family. So I wasn't really into the Munsters back then, but then I caught up with the Munsters on syndication, on reruns. You know, before I found out from this research that we're going to talk about, the Munsters were sort of a ripoff of the Addams Family, because the Addams Family was so successful on ABC, the CBS decided to do a show similar to it, and it was the Munsters. All right, here you go. It was on CBS. The address, do you remember the address of the Munsters where they live? 1313 Mockingbird Lane. And they never specified where Mockingbird Lane is, but it was, from things you put together, it's a suburb of Los Angeles. Can you believe that? Mockingbird, this old mansion. By the way, the house, there was a real house that they used for Munsters. And the house was, after they got done with the Munster series, they cleaned it up for them. And they used that same house, both the indoors and the outdoors, for other TV series. In fact, the Munsters house was on, remember Desperate Housewives? Wisteria Lane. One of those houses in the neighborhood there was the Munsters house. All right, so here we go. Now this really surprised me. I had no idea. The Munsters only run for 2 seasons. Can you believe that? It seems like the Munsters were around forever. Only 2 seasons, but 70 episodes. They crammed in plenty of episodes, didn't they? It originated from a comic strip, which was done between 43 and 45 by an artist. His name was Bob Clampett. He did the Munsters. CBS always intended to turn it into a TV series. They bought the rights and everything. But it never happened. It never materialized until the mid-60s. As we know, Fred Gwynne played Herman Munster, the guy who looked like Frankenstein. And you know the premise. It's just an average, and this is what the Munsters built on. An average family living in the suburbs in the mid-60s of America. Only this average family were actual monsters. So Herman was Fred Gwynne was Herman. Yvonne DiCarlo was Lily, the wife. Al Lewis, who was a big old-time comedian, vaudeville guy, played Grandpa Munster. There were 2 Marilyns. Marilyn was the normal, quote-unquote, normal-looking one, where she was beautiful, just blonde, where the rest of them were like ugly. It was played by an actress named Beverly Owen, and then she only lasted a really short time, and then they brought in an actress named Pat Priest. Pat Priest played her. And then Eddie, the little kid, was Butch Patrick. He's still around. Butch Patrick is still around. But Eddie, he had the widow's peak, you know, and the fags and everything. And guess what? Do you remember the fire-breathing dragon underneath the steps? And they showed it like at the beginning of every Munsters there. What was his name? You know? Spot. What else would you name a fire-breathing dragon, right? And actually, this is funny. The creators of the Munsters, the guys who put it together for CBS, were the same. I can't believe this. Were the same people that created Leave It to Beaver. I kid you not. Leave It to Beaver. I can just imagine. Imagine, of course, Beaver went off. Beaver was in the 50s and went off. Can you imagine if they blended these 2 together? That Eddie Munster went to play with Beaver, and vice versa. Beaver came over to the Munster. Anyway, okay. Yeah, actually, it was higher rated, the Munsters, than the Addams Family. Because as I said, back in the day, you were either an Addams Family guy or a Munsters guy, right? Well, CBS was very cognizant. As I said, in some ways they ripped off the Addams Family. Even though the Munsters were only on for 2 seasons, the ratings were better than the Addams Family. We're going to talk about why it was canceled at the end. In fact, in 65, the Munsters was very popular. It was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Comedy Series. And it lost to a show called The Rogues, Rogues. I don't remember the Rogues. Do you remember the Rogues? That doesn't ring a bell. What was the Rogues? Oh, I got to do a little research into that. But the Munsters were on every Thursday night at 7:30. And really the reason why the Munsters was eventually canceled after 2 seasons was because it was up against Batman. And even Fitzpatrick in a later interview said Batman kicked our ass, basically. They couldn't compete with Batman, and so instead of CBS maybe putting it in a different time slot, they just canceled it, which was kind of a shame. But there were movies. We're going to talk about that in sequels and stuff to keep the Munsters legacy going on. But back in the day, I have to admit, I think maybe that was one of the reasons why I didn't watch the Munsters when it was actually on. I was a Batman guy. I admit, I was a Batman guy, and I watched Batman religiously every week, the 2 parts. And so that's why. All right, so Lily and Herman, Frankenstein's bride Frankenstein. In the show, it was indicated that they were married in 1865. That was the Universal Studios bought the copyrights. Here's the deal. Universal Studios owned all the rights to the old horror movies like Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, So what happened was CBS and they hooked up with Universal Studios. They bought the rights and everything, so that the same people who did all the makeup, costumes for all those old horror movies worked on the Munsters. That's to me, that's fascinating. So the same people who designed like Dracula's cape and the makeup and the surroundings, in the house, in Dracula's dungeon, those were the same people who worked on the Munsters show. And the Munsters' appearance changed after the first season. After the pilot. If you remember, Lily had like a white streak in her hair. They toned that down. Herman Munster looked more like his forehead was out more. He looked kind of ouchy and very silent in the pilot, not as jovial. Fred Gwynn made him a little bit more goofy. If you remember, whenever Herman got angry, he would stutter. And Fred Gwynn would have his mouth open. Like that. He just kind of hammed it up a little bit, Eddie Munster did not have the widow's peak originally. He had like a beetle haircut. I kid you not. He looked like Paul McCartney and the Robert Shorter. And then they did the widow's peak stuff. Even Grandpa looked a little different. So, the Munsters evolved as time went on with their makeup in their costumes. Actually, the Munsters were kind of ahead of their time. Now, remember, Munsters came out in the mid-60s, and there was a lot of upheaval in the mid-60s. I mean, we're talking not only Vietnam, that kind of stuff, but like racial discrimination. And so, even though, a lot of these comedy shows, like the good comedy shows, Leave It to Beaver always had a moral behind it. And later on, the Brady Bunch always had a moral behind it. You had the jokes and the comedy, but there was always some sort of a thing for the family, be good, drink your milk, or Santa will come, that sort of thing. So, the Munsters did the same thing in a very gentle way. The Munsters actually, now get this, you wouldn't think of this from the Munsters. Actually, was one of the first comedy shows to address racial discrimination. Because there was one episode where Herman had a heart-to-heart talk with Eddie. And he said, don't worry about what people say about your appearance. You could be black or white, you could be that. It's all, in fact, the quote from Herman Munster was, here it is. the exact quote was, yeah, what matters is the size of your heart and the strength of your character. Her quote unquote Harvard Munster. But they did. They just in very subtle ways like that, they addressed things like racial discrimination. No, because the Munsters didn't look like everybody else. Don't judge me on appearance, right? And I could relate to that. Don't judge me on appearance. Judge me for what's inside my heart, right? So that's what the Munsters talking about. There were a lot of guest stars on the Munsters in 2 years. In fact, Paul Lynde, you remember Paul Lynde? He was always on Hollywood Squares. And Dom DeLuise, you know, remember him? No, chunky guy. They played doctors on the Munsters. Who I think Eddie had the measles or something, and they sent the doctors over to the house. And of course, that's when they met the Spot and all the Raven, you know. Who, I remember the Munsters. Did you ever this? The Munsters had that cuckoo clock, and in their living room, and out instead of the cuckoo, out came the Raven. Never more, never more. 3 times, never more. That trip. Okay, but one of the great guest stars. Actually, this guy was on more than just a guest star. Was John Carradine. You remember John Carradine? He was a great character actor back in the day. He was in Grapes of Wrath. You know, in so many of those great movies back in the 40s and 30s. John Carradine was this thin guy with this pale face. You know, he's kind of a scary guy himself. Well, John Carradine played Mr. Gateman, who was he ran the funeral parlor where Herman Munster worked. Yes, Herman worked at a funeral parlor. Where else would he work? At Wawa? I'm just saying. So, you know, the people who wrote the Munsters, especially for the first season, were the same people who wrote Rocky and Bowling. Remember those great cartoons, Rocky and Bowling? They were funny. I love my Rocky people. And they had some biting humor to some satire, you know? Those were the same people who wrote the Munsters. Now, when the Munsters was created, originally it was a 50-50 split. Some executives wanted to be a live series with live actors, as it turned out to be. Actually, some executives at CBS wanted it to be an animated series. And it almost became a cartoon until these other people overruled them. And it's like, no, it's going to be a series with live actors. Or in the Munsters case, dead actors. Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis, the guys who played Herman and Grandpa, they already knew each other. They had a lot of great chemistry because they were on a show called Car 54, Where Are You? Before the Munsters. Car 54 was wrapping up in the mid-60s after a very successful run. And Gwynne and Lewis were actually the first 2 actors hired in the cast of the Munsters. And a big reason was because they had a lot of great chemistry together. Lily's original name in the original pilot, very different than what we know as the Munsters. Lily's name was Phoebe Munster. Doesn't sound right, does it? Phoebe, yeah. And we talked about the big the Munster car. Yeah, remember the Munster car? The old jalopies. Well, it was an actual car. It was called the Munster Coach. Munster Coach. It was a 1926 Ford Model T. Model T. It was custom made. It had a custom hearse body. So they designed it was a drag racer. You know, back in the mid-60s, drag racing was really popular. You know, the Beach Boys and the Jan and Dean, they all had these songs about Little Deuce Coop, you know, those kind of songs. And so it was a drag racer made to look like a hearse. And Grandpa had a part too. And a lot of people forget this. It was called the Dragula. Get it? Drag racing, Dragula. The monster coach was 18 feet long. It cost $20,000 to build. And if you remember one episode, Herman lost the monster coach in a sort of a drag race. He was in this. He was in a race and he actually lost the family car. The dope. And in order to win it back, Grandpa went up to these other guys and took the dragsters, and Grandpa had the Dracula, and he won back the car. That was that what. Yeah, the theme to the Munster did have lyrics. But they were never used on the show. God knows what they were. Here's a family, but they're called the Munsters. Da 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 da. Believe it or not, that theme was nominated for a Grammy in 1965. The hell were those people thinking about back then? I mean, the Beatles were around back in 1965. You mean to tell me instead of nominating the Beatles or something, they nominated the Munster theme song? And now, for Record of the Year, nominated along with Yesterday. Now, which one do you think? Huh? Yesterday or the Munsters theme song? I'm just saying. All right. We're wrapping this up. So hang with me, okay? Hang with me. Actually, you know what made it quite cool? The Munsters was filmed in black and white. The pilot, which is floating around. If you get the Munsters DVD collection, where you have all the 70 shows, the pilot's included. The pilot was done in color. The rest of the shows were in black and white. However, movies after that, like Here Come the Munsters, Munster Go Home, were done in color. What was the cool thing about the color? You got to see the Munsters' real color skin, which was a tinted bluish green. Yes, a tinted bluish green too. Munsters actually had an Easter. This gets really weird. Easter, 1965. They had a Marineland episode. So, you know, some of these series you take it out of the house and you go, and some shows go to Paris, London. The Munsters went to Marineland. Why? I don't know. And the episode was all about they wanted to get Eddie a new pet. So where else would you go but to Marineland, right? Maybe you're going to take a shark over here. But that was their Easter special. Thank God. You know, to me, Easter was never the same. You had your Easter eggs. You went to church, of course. You had your Easter candy and your Easter basket. But Easter was special in 1965 because you had the Munsters. The Munsters Easter special. Whatever. All right. So, season 1 of the Munsters, actually, the ratings weren't that. The Munsters were number 18, which tied Gilligan's Island. But then they dropped way, way down. They dropped all the way down to number 61, season 2. And that's one of the reasons why they got rid of the show, because it couldn't compete with that. did all kinds of crazy things to make the cobwebs and dust to make the Munster house look really creepy. Like they actually made a vacuum cleaner that instead of sucking up the dust and the dirt, it blew it out, and fun stuff, Actually, in the 1964 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Herman Munster, Fred Gwynn in costume, and Al Lewis's grandpa appeared in the parade. Now, I kind of think I remember. I don't know if you do. Think that. I was only a kid. 1964. This was before the show even came on, because, it came on in the 65 season. But I guess CBS wanted to promote the show. So they had Herman and Grandpa appear in the Thanksgiving Day Parade in costume. Yeah. I kind of remember that. Yeah. Now, it's in the cobwebs of my heart. But again, nothing says Thanksgiving Day before you have your turkey, before you watch football, than seeing the Munsters in person with all the blintzing. Fred Gwynn actually was the one actor in the cast who did go out. He appeared in costume as Herman Munster on the Red Skeleton show. I bet you he said Red Skeleton or Skeleton. And he was on the Danny Kaye show too. And then there were movies. 1966, Munster Go Home. So, a lot of these shows like Batman. Batman they filmed the movie in the summertime. Batman the movie, And that's what the Munsters did. Or when they were supposed to be on hiatus during the summer between 65 and 66, they actually did a movie called Munster Movie. And then in 81, the cast reunited for Munster's Revenge. And then in 95, a television film called Here Come the Munsters was on. And it wasn't the original cast. And there were plans of bringing the Munsters all through the 2000s, from what I learned, 2014, all the way up to maybe 2017. Studios had plans to bring Munsters back, either in movie form or not the original cast, of course, most of the cast did, but movie form or on TV, but every time they tried to put it together, it fell. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see Munsters someday. Who knows? All right. Well, that's my Munsters classic TV review. I hope you enjoyed that. Wasn't that worth the wait? I don't have any dogs with me today because Coco is at dog school. Yeah. We enrolled him in dog school this month. I was actually there for the first lesson last week. Is it working? That's a bit. We were teaching him how to, to sit. Good. Yes, Coco. With the little treat in the yes, Coco. And I'm like, that looks pretty good. I would sit too. So God knows what they're going to teach him to. I decided not. But just good to. Anyway, he's a little guy and he's off to school. Katie, on the other hand, is somewhere in the house, but of course she's a lone diva, so she won't go in the shower. And Bud, our old friend, is here on this in his box. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching all week long. For all the new subscribers, I noticed yesterday that I think I'm in the 50s now, like 51 or 52. Thank you. seemed like it was only yesterday, but I already had 35 subscribers. Anyway, I appreciate everybody listening and watching. I like doing the show. It keeps me out of trouble. It gives me a platform to vent against the 76ers. By the way, go Phillies. We won last night. Go Phillies, go Phillies. And, I can share different things. Hopefully, some good things that we can all take with us in life, right? So, I like it though. I really do. And you know what this show needs to be? Not to get ordained before I leave. A lot of these shows, if you go back and look at the past episodes, you can find them on YouTube. But my friend Bud Munsters was in the episode with me, like sitting here with me watching the show. So whenever I miss Bud a lot, and I do miss Bud, I could go back, watch some of these shows, and Bud was once a month. I'm always there. So there you go. All right, everybody, I'll see you soon, huh? We won't have the Sixers to talk about anymore, but not till next year. But I'll be back early next week. We'll gossip, we'll talk about maybe some political humor there. Donald Trump is still up there, getting reamed over by the Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, all these people. Who knows what else we're going to talk about. Smarty Jones, if you're watching this show, you're a stud, my friend. Keep producing those children, those balls, okay? Everybody take care and have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye-bye, bye-bye. Peace and love to you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.